So recently, with everything that's been going on in the markets and just some of the craziness that we've been seeing recently in the markets, it got me thinking about flowers, particularly the tulip flower. And let's get this thing started, alright? Whoosh. What's going on, people? It's your boy Kelechi back with another video. If this is your first time around these parts, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy anything that I talk about on this video, hit that like button. Turn that thing, say it with me now. But anyway, like I said in this video, I just want to go over a quick story with y'all and just share a history lesson of just the markets and how the markets can be overall. There's actually the story of the Tulip Mania from back in the 1600s, a long time ago, so a lot of people don't really know about it, but I just think history, although it doesn't repeat, it tends to rhyme. So I just want to share with you guys that story real quick, and we'll just take out some excerpts, and there's two lessons that I want to share from this at the end of the video. But anyway, this is from Investopedia, which I always say, if you're looking for a good resource to learn about investing, subscribe to the Investopedia newsletters, subscribe to the Investopedia podcast. It's so good. There's so much good information that they share. But anyway, so this is a story about the 1600s Tulip Mania. So let's just go through it real quick. Tulips first arrived in Western Europe in the late 1500s, and being an import from their native Turkey, commanded the same exoticism that spices and oriental rugs did. It looked like no other flower native to the continent. It is no surprise then that tulips became a luxury item designed for the gardens of the affluent. It was deemed a proof of bad taste in any man of fortune to be without a collection of tulips. It started like anything else. Like most things that always start fresh and new. It always starts as something that nobody expects. It always starts as something that's just out there. It always starts as this exciting new thing that if you're anybody of anybody, you should definitely be part of this. I mean, we're seeing it right now where everybody's an investor. Like, that's the cool thing to be right now. Like, if you're not an investor, then what are you doing with your life? You see every musician, you see every actor, you see everybody becomes an investor nowadays, because being an investor is the exciting thing right now. It's the cool thing. Like, if you don't have some kind of fund that you're running, or if you don't have some kind of investing arm that you're going into, not to say like investing is a bad thing, but it's just you're seeing like this excitement with the investment industry. We're seeing like, oh my gosh, this is where we all need to be. It's now cool to be an investor. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. In 1634, Tulip Mania swept through Holland. The rage among the Dutch to possess tulip bulbs was so great that the ordinary industry of the country was neglected, and the population, even to its lowest dregs, embarked in a tulip trade. A single bulb could be worth as much as 4,000 or even 5,500 florins. Now, and then it goes on to say that a florin is about $150. That means that the best of tulips cost upwards of $750,000. In other words, one flower, one of these things was worth $750,000. But many of the tulips traded between $50,000 and $150,000. Now check this out. By 1636, the demand for tulip trade was so large that regular marts for their sale was established on the stock exchange of Amsterdam, in Rotterdam, Haarlem, and other towns. And you know one thing, once the stock exchange gets involved, once traders get involved, guess what else enters in? Greed. Greed enters in. And we're seeing that the exact same thing happening right now, whether it's with DogeCoin or with any of these other altcoins or any of these other Bitcoin and all of this stuff. We're seeing like Goldman Sachs just announced that it has a new crypto trading desk. And then we're also seeing like, oh, now Webull is allowing you to trade Dogecoin. And then we're seeing all these different platforms like, oh yeah, now we're going to allow you to use Dogecoin. Now we're going to allow you to buy with Dogecoin. Now we're going to do this. Now we're going to do that. All of a sudden, everybody's in on Doge. Everybody's in on these altcoins. Everybody is like trying to find a way, because you always have to remember one thing when it comes to stock exchanges, when it comes to platforms, they're only there for one thing and one thing only, to make a profit off of you. So whatever it is that you're asking for, they're going to give it to you, because at the end of the day, all they want is to make a profit off of you. They don't care if you're going to win or lose money. All they care about is how can we make a profit by processing the information that's flowing through here. So let's keep going. It was at this time that professional traders got in on the action, and everybody appeared to be making money simply by possessing some of these rare bulbs. Indeed, it seemed at the time that the price could only go up. What do we see all the time? Stonks. Like everybody is just saying like stonks. It only goes up. It never comes down. It only goes up. Whenever you start hearing stuff like that, think of the tulips. But it says that the passion for tulips would last forever. People began buying tulips with leverage, using margin derivatives contracts to buy more than they could afford. But as quickly as it began, confidence was dashed. By the end of the year 1637, prices began to fall and never looked back. Hundreds who a few months previously had begun to doubt that there was such a thing as poverty in the land suddenly found themselves the possessors of a few bulbs which nobody would buy, even at prices 1/4 of what they paid. By 1638, tulip bulb price had returned to whence they came. In other words, back to zero, back to where they should have been the whole time, because it's a flower. It was a flower, but everybody got lost in the sauce because once greed starts, greed spreads. Because once one person sees their neighbor, it's like, wait a minute. I mean, I was playing soccer the other day, or I went to ref a soccer game, and I was on the field, and I kept on hearing the same thing. One person was like, yeah, I got it on Doge when it was like 20 cents. And the other person was like, oh man, I got it on Doge when it was like 50 cents. And then somebody else is like, what is Doge? And then it's like, yo, you need to get it on Doge. Like everybody's buying it right now. That's exactly what happened with the Tulip Mania. Everybody was like, yo, I saw my neighbor do this. He's not that smart. How come he's making money and I'm not making money? So it's like, I'm definitely getting in on this too. So it spreads. Greed is so easy for greed to just like fear, greed spreads very quickly. Very quickly. And then the two lessons that I want to take out of this is one, there will always be something exciting that wants to take your money. There will always be something new and something exciting that will be available for you to be able to invest your money and make money very quickly. Everybody believed they were wealthy. Everybody forgot about doing all the other stuff. I mean, one of the key quotes it says in here is that, let's see, the rage among the Dutch to possess tulip bulbs was so great that the ordinary industry of the country was neglected and the population, even to its lowest dregs, embarked in the tulip trade. In other words, everyone forgot about all the other things that was possible for them to be able to build wealth with and focused on this one thing. I was like, yeah, we're going all in on that. The second thing that I want us to take out of this is for all those who feel like they're smarter than the crowd, for all those who feel like, oh yeah, I definitely know like this is a bubble. It's not going to last that long. Look at this. It says that this started early in the 1500s is when it first started. And then over the years in 1634 was when the mania is when the hype started, is when the hype began. 1634. It took until 1638 before the bubble was fully popped. In other words, even though you feel like you know what's going to happen, even though you feel like you understand everything, it doesn't mean that people aren't going to win. It doesn't mean that people aren't going to make some money off of this thing. It doesn't mean that you are smarter than the crowd. You can be early to a scene, but being early and investing doesn't make you right. It just makes you stand in the drought by yourself. You can ask Ray Dalio about that. He was right about there going to be an impending crash, but he was early. My advice is know what you're doing. Know what you're doing. When you invest in something like Doge, when you invest in something like cryptocurrency, I'm going to say this with Bitcoin, I'm going to say it with all of it, in all honesty, that doesn't have in and of itself some kind of underlying value. Well, Bitcoin has some value now, but is basically built on the idea of supply and demand. You're basically hoping that society continues to pump that thing. You're basically hoping that people continue to hype that thing up. So I'm just telling this story and sharing this story. Go read the whole thing. There's other ones as well. We had the Beanie Baby mania that we had back in the early 80s, I believe it was. There's all kinds of manias. This happens all the time. My point is just be wise. It's okay to play around with this stuff, but just know what you're doing when you start doing it. A lot of us think like we're now professional investors. Like I said earlier, we have actors and actresses even making SPACs and all of this stuff because everybody's trying to get some money at the end of the day. Everybody wants to make a little bit of dollar off of everybody else. And so we see SPACs exploding. We see Bitcoin, Doge, all of these things exploding. All these alternate forms of making money exploding all of a sudden. All I'm sharing with this story is be wise and know exactly what it is that you're going into as you go into it. And for all my people who are like me and bearish on the whole thing, you can be too early to a party. You can be too early to a party. You may be calling the downfall for this thing, but it doesn't mean that people aren't going to make money for a long time to come. So find better ways to share your message is my main thing for all those who understand the stock market, who understand manias, who understand the idea of being fearful when everybody is greedy. Find a better way to share your message. Just using fear alone will not get people to act in the right way. But anyway, that's all I got. I hope y'all learned one, maybe two things out of this entire thing. I'm gonna catch y'all up on the next one. Remember, generosity is always greater than greed. God bless each and every single one of y'all, and I'm out. Peace. Whoosh.